Ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's starting, and we're live.
Okay.
Can you seize us?
I got a notification on my phone, but not...
Got a new subscriber.
There we go.
Rhino Gator. Nice.
Call it off, let it go, all for nothing. I should have known.
Okay.
Sounds good. We didn't even say anything yet.
I'm trying to share everything to all the groups.
Sweet. How do we ban Jay?
We're not going to ban Jay.
We can ban whoever we want.
You know what? I am grateful for all the listeners and subscribers we have. So.
Put my coffee over there. 3 watching.
Great.
Very nice.
I'll go ahead and pop this link into some of my chats. So there we go.
Do it. I'm going to turn down my computer.
Okay. Oh man, I keep forgetting our Twitter handle.
CreepGeek Pod.
CreepGeek Pod, all one word.
Yes. I think. Live from New Mexico.
Okay.
Sweet.
CreepGeek Pod.
Geeks. There's some plurality there. Boom, boom, boom. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is the recording podcast a reminder for you? No, it's a reminder for everybody who tunes in. Because we actually do the podcast, but we actually also record an audio podcast.
Yep.
Mr. Hunter's here. Hello. We're like, very nice. So, and actually the timer is wrong on the timer. It reset itself. Because I tested it. Because we'll actually start the show when the timer pops down. Yeah. Very, very nice.
Yep.
Schmoink.
Come on.
Sweet. Huh? So,
I've shared this to like
spoons.
80 different places.
So everybody can hear us? It sounds okay? Should sound okay? Should look better? I applied a nice little EOS Cinema profile to my dirt cheap 4K baby cinema camera.
Oh.
Yep. We got all the AC and the fans turned off, so it's going to be nice and hot in here.
Stop.
I'm
I
telling you,
don't
man.
even want to think about it.
It's already happening there.
So.
Yeah. Yes. Thumbs up, I guess, means we sound good.
Yep.
Sweet. Cool.
You know, I wonder sometimes with the amount that I share this or disseminate it throughout different social medias, that Facebook doesn't, like, ban me or hold me.
Probably. They probably delay things. I wouldn't be surprised. Boom, 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 boom. All right.
Okay. Oh, have you shared this to your Google profile?
My Googles.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I won't do that right now.
The only reason is because...
Well, it doesn't share to my Google. It actually shares to the CreepGeeks Google.
Yeah. Because I used to change the drop-down.
It won't let me do it because remember, I'm running the stream.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, only because Cheap Geek has such a wide reach, you know? So...
This is, we have an error message already.
Really?
Yeah. It says bad video settings. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently, free keyframes are not being sent enough, which will cause buffering. The current key... Okay, well, how do I do that? Tough guy. See, now it's timing out. It doesn't like whatever it is we're doing. And everything was just fine. No, it's not.
Oh.
Why is it streaming every 8 seconds? That is the question. More importantly, can I fix that?
I have no idea.
Well, let's see. I think it's going to make me stop if I want to do this. Yeah, I won't be able to make any changes whatsoever.
Okay.
Unless,
Jay's already don't do it.
I mean, can people see us or what? How does it look?
Yeah, can you guys see us? Spoons, don't stop.
Okay, it's funny because YouTube is saying that the streaming that we're doing is not good and it's not working. So, and you guys are saying it's great. So
Yeah. They're all perfect.
and it says
It's
my stream
fine.
health is terrible. Okay, so
Well, here, maybe turning some stuff off. Let's see.
well, it doesn't. Okay,
I
well,
don't know. Stream health, you know.
well, yeah, but it's saying that I'm doing a keyframe of 8.4 seconds and I'm not,
Oh.
which is weird. Maybe I shouldn't listen to what it says. How about
Yeah,
that?
that's what everybody else is saying.
All right, we're gonna go with it. It's
Okay.
crystal clear. That's what we're gonna do. Because everything else, I mean, I'm on. You know, we got everything set to. Everything's off. So, okay. So Jay's at 1080. We're gonna go with it.
All right.
Yep. All right. So the only thing I want to do is go and share in messaging to people's. If I can find the little messaging icon thingy, there it is. So, yeah. There, I have shared it. It's slightly quiet in here.
There we go.
There, we just play all of our podcast safe music that we currently have.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
But
It won't let me post it to Tumblr.
well,
Yeah.
okay. So according to this, our stream health is bad. Now, according to this, wait. I don't know what it's doing. It's like, it says no data, no active stream. But, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody's got to come. It's over the recording of the podcast at the top. What does that mean? How dare ye?
How about we do our intro?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Nothing.
All right. Spunk. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Everybody mark the time. Mark the time. So we can get started. All right, so here we go. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. You're listening to the CreepGeeks podcast. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/cheapgeek. So, welcome back, and it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks podcast. This is episode number 94.
NM Observatory Closures, Skinwalker Ranch, and defending your cheeseburgers.
That's right. So, welcome back to the CreepGeeks podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, this is episode 94, but what are we?
We are a offbeat news podcast where we explore the strange, the stupid, paranormal, and tech topics circulating the web.
Very nice. And I'm Greg, and this is Omi.
Hi.
And so it begins again. We do this podcast every Sunday, or most every Sundays. We do it live on the YouTube, so you can follow along if you'd like to watch us do this live and struggle, because the struggle is real. Or you can just listen to the audio podcast like you are now. And if you are listening to the audio podcast, you can find us on iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Google Play Music. Pretty much anywhere you can hear a podcast, you can hear us too.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you don't know where to listen to us from, just listen wherever those places where I just listed to. You can just click there and follow. And anyway, if you are listening and you're following along, thank you very much. Appreciate it. If it's your first time tuning in, thank you very much and appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, if you are watching our live broadcast on the YouTubes, please, by all means do. And if you hit the subscribe button and then that little bell next to it, if you tap the bell, you'll be notified when we do it.
Turn on notifications.
Yeah. And if you don't do that, but you happen to remember Sundays or you follow us on Facebook, we do put links there as well. So you can join in the festivities. Yeah. So it begins again. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'd like to start off the podcast by saying hello to people who are watching with us live right now. Hello, people who are watching with us live right now. Good to see you. But we do like to do a couple different things in the podcast. We have different sections and stuff that we do. And one of the sections that we do is basically interesting factoid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But before that, if you would like to give us a review, we accept only the finest 3 to 5 star reviews anywhere you can find us. But iTunes seems to work. But anywhere you listen to the podcast, you can definitely do that. We do have a link to the iTunes link.
I'm trying to put it in there, and it won't
So
let
if you
me.
want to Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So, I mean, if you do that, that'd be super cool. But otherwise, stick around. We're going to be with you for a little while. And at the end of the podcast, the audio podcast ends and we say, see you later. But the streaming podcast stays on for a couple extra minutes so we can answer any questions and do a little chit chat with people who've been watching the entire time. So you can stick around for that. But Annette, thank you very much. And see you later. That's it. We're done. Bye-bye.
Did you let them know that they can call the show?
No, I
leave a
did not
message?
let them know that they could call the show. Why don't you do that?
So you can always give us a call. The phone number is 575-208-4025.
Hey, look, somebody's calling.
Roswell area code.
Yeah, nobody's calling.
Stop. Leave a message if you want. Leave your name, or if you're not comfortable with that, leave your internet handle.
Yeah, if you've got something you definitely want to share or something
Yep.
like that, something weird, creepy, unusual, we'd very much appreciate it.
And
But if you call during a live show, we may answer.
And during the live show,
Dun, dun,
eventually,
dun.
we'll figure out how to make me moderator so I can put the iTunes links in.
Oh,
But
that's a little passive-aggressive. All you got to do is just click one little button, maybe.
to rate us on iTunes, make sure you search for CreepGeeks Pod and don't put, 3-star reviews on the CreepGeeks because I'm
I'm sure they would appreciate
they
it.
don't
those
appreciate
flat
it at all.
pancake-making bastards.
Stop.
Crip.
I like
crips. They're flat pancakes.
I
That's
like
all
Crips. So
they are. Crips.
yeah, Crips.
Crips.
Yeah.
Crips pancake. Sweet. Brittany is here. She's like, okay, I'm here. Very nice. So we got Jacob's here. Hello. Brian's here. Hello.
Yeah.
Jay's here. Hello. Brittany's here.
Brittany would like everybody to calm down. Calm down. She's here. Okay.
Oh, okay. So now we can start.
So now we can start.
Cheeseburger. Jessica's here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a bunch of people here. So let me figure out how to make you a moderator before before bad stuff happens. Let me think about what I got to do with that real quick. So let me see. Divided by 2.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
I don't even see you in there anywhere. Where are you? Let me see. There we got that. Let's see. Okay.
This is an organic show.
Do I need
folks.
to report you or remove you?
Do you want baked chicken tonight or not?
Baked chicken's already in there. And since we do this podcast on Sundays, and we're trying to do a little bit of an old school thing, it's something that we've been doing for many, many years, is we try to do a Sunday dinner where you at least have one nice dinner,
A week.
Yeah. So, and I think the last time we did this, it was chicken as well. But we like to do like a roast chicken kind of thing on Sundays. Dogs like it. It's just, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good baked chicken with some vegetables. So, there you go. So anyway, you should now be the moderator, and we can go ahead and begin the podcast.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So our interesting random factoid.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to do this one?
Actually, let me throw the link in there for folks. So
Why? I can just show them. Don't show them the link.
No.
It just takes them away.
This is the iTunes link.
Okay. Boy,
Calm down.
it's like we've been doing this for hours.
So, the interesting factoid. This got me because I knew a little bit about, the various wars that America has participated in. Things like the Korean War and Vietnam. Soldiers were exposed to things like Agent Orange and toxic chemicals and all sorts of things. Various vaccination tests and stuff like that. What I didn't know was our interesting fact for today, which is dozens of Korean War GIs claimed a UFO made them sick. And apparently this was a big enough deal that it made it onto an article on the History Channel's website. So this article, basically, theories range from high-tech Soviet death rays to extraterrestrials studying human combat to combat stress-induced hallucinations. Now, if that last part sounds familiar to you, that kind of goes into some reports during the late 90s that various people during the Vietnam War claimed that they experienced hallucinations and were led to do certain things during that war. So that's why I found this article so interesting. But the article starts off with, in May of 1951, 1 year into the Korean War, PFC Francis P. Wall and his regiment found themselves stationed near Chorwan, about 60 miles north of Seoul. They were preparing to bombard a nearby village, and all of a sudden the soldiers saw a strange sight up in the hills, like a jack-o'-lantern coming wafting down across the mountain. And then what happened after, the pulsing or attacking light left lingering, debilitating symptoms, which would mystify many for decades. Basically, a lot of these people were interviewed to talk about what happened. They claimed that this glowing light, first it glowed orange, and then it was a pulsating green, brilliant light. Various people asked for permission to fire at the object with armor-piercing bullets from an M1 rifle.
Like, can we shoot it?
Yeah.
I think we should shoot that.
As the bullets hit the body of the craft, they made a metallic ding or dink noise. Yeah, the object started to behave still more erratically, shunting from one side to another side as lights flashed on and off. What happened afterward was even stranger. They said some form of a ray that was emitted in pulses or in waves. You could visually see it when it was aimed directly at you. And that is to say, like a searchlight sweeping around and the segments of light, you would see it coming at you. And that's just terrifying. I mean, you're already like on guard because, you know, at any time somebody could be shooting at you or maybe a fighter jet or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is a UFO, you know?
Shooting its pulsing death ray.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, once all this was said and done, certain people had an extremely high white blood cell count. And a former UFO researcher and NASA scientist, Richard F. Haynes, said that many of these people were too weak to walk. They had dysentery symptoms and other symptoms that sounded like the effects of radiation.
Dang.
That's spooky. A lot of people assume that this could have been a new Soviet weapon. There were 42 corroborated testimonies by additional witnesses, an average of more than one a month in just over 3 years. So very credible article that UFOs, the malicious type, have been attacking us for a while.
It is kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's unexplained. We still don't have any theories of it. But if it's big enough to get credence and end up on the History Channel's website, I don't know. I believe it.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, who knows
Yeah.
if this is UFOs or anything like that? I mean,
Yeah.
because, you know, from what it sounds like, a pulsing weapon like that could be a microwave.
Yeah.
Because radar basically uses microwaves. So if you, and radar, you know, it's high energy, man.
Yeah.
So just because we use it to hunt and track things
But
doesn't mean you can't use it to cook things, right?
Yeah. Over
So-
25 men had the same exact symptoms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, microwave is a form of radiation. It
Yeah.
is radiation. So if you blast somebody with a really strong microwave transmitter,
Yeah.
you know, you can cause a lot of these issues, and it will feel like you're being cooked from the inside. So just enough to debilitate you. So maybe somebody was trying something out. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole, you know, the pumpkin thing, who knows what that is? I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just kind of strange.
Well, if you think about it, like a jack-o'-lantern, 2 eyes, and then a
Well-
long light. I mean, I could picture that as 2 spotlights on some sort of plane vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And, Jessica says we should be playing banjos for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No. But,
That is crazy.
yeah.
See, if it was the Korean, like, soldiers, then I can kind of see them not being, maybe what they were saying to be less credible. Because, I mean, we just came out of World War II, and our technology was pretty high compared to the Koreans overall. And our soldiers are pretty well trained. Not saying the Korean soldiers weren't as well trained either, but I think that, you know, being more technologically advanced country,
Yeah.
that there's more credence to this story. Whereas if you look at the Koreans back then, a lot of them, they weren't as, you know, as advanced
And
in general because they were, so I don't know, man. It's just kind of a strange story.
that's another thing because, well, this article doesn't discuss any accounts of attacks on Korean soldiers. There are testimonies basically saying, yes, I saw this happen to the
Yeah.
U.S. troops. And no Korean soldier that is at least indicated in this article was affected, just the U.S. troops. So
That's what I'm saying. And I think that's
Yeah.
why it has a little bit more credence to it. I don't know. It's just kind of strange. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like Mars attacks or something. So, but why did they say it was UFO? Just because it's just unidentified?
yeah,
So,
but yeah,
but I like the way you say it, you know, it just shot off like at a 45-degree angle. And phew, it was gone. So maybe it was, because around that time, it seemed like after the first atomic bomb and then the second atomic bomb and then the third atomic bomb, because you got the test that we did, and I'd say that they did in Roswell. In Alamogordo, down there by White Sands.
yeah,
And then you had the other two that happened. And then you also had the atomic bomb that Russia dropped in a test and basically tested. And it seemed like after that is when a lot of sightings from all this stuff started showing up.
yeah.
Like in the 50s. And the whole flying saucer thing became super popular in the 50s. So, very weird. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, there you go.
Okay.
We need some weird music. Let's listen to the sound of Saturn. Yeah, it's quiet, yeah.
It's too quiet.
Yes, the sound of space. Yeah. That's nice. All right. So anyway, getting back to a couple different things here.
So we're going to use the later article that I just put in there. So
Yeah, why did you put that there?
because it's more in depth. So yeah,
Yeah, but I put that in there. That's
you put
number
the
4.
NPR one in.
Yeah.
Mine's the local one. So
Like KOB is any better.
no, this is a Las Cruces Sun.
Oh, like they're any better. They got a population of 6.
So yeah, no, they have more than that.
All right.
Anyways, so I know we were ramping up talking about this last week, but okay. So about starting last week, everyone started getting very concerned because of this whole sunspot observatory closure.
You got to tell them what it is. Not everybody knows.
Okay, so basically, the sunspot observatory was closed, just immediately closed.
Well, what kind of observatory is it?
It's a solar observatory.
Yes.
And they use it to basically measure sunspot and sun radiation activity.
Yeah, this is in New Mexico. So if
Yeah.
you're listening and you're not from New Mexico, being the way New Mexico is, there's a bunch of observatories around here. You've got like solar observatories, you've got regular telescopes, you've got the big
Radio.
radio telescopes, the very large array, the thing that Jodie Foster was hanging around in.
We've been there.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of radio telescopes, radio telemetry, and the Sunspot Observatory is actually located not that far at all from White Sands Missile
Yeah.
Testing Range.
Well, it's okay. Isn't it technically closer to Cloudcroft?
Well, they're all in the same area, so it doesn't matter, because the way that works, and the missile testing range works, is that it borders all those little towns.
Yeah.
Because they have to have a certain, they have to have miles and miles of area just in case they shoot a missile or test a weapon or something like that and it goes wrong, they can bring it down and not worry about, hitting people and stuff like that. Unlike in Virginia Beach, where you have Oceana, which is a master jet fighter base.
And the jet crashed in our friend Steven's apartment complex.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
mayor at the time, who was a long-term mayor, Mayor Myra Obendorf, promised the government, the Navy, the government, that they wouldn't build any more
Yeah.
around the area, around the crash zone areas, because there's rules, right?
Yeah.
Because you have zones like zone A, B, and C, and she kept encroaching into it, and they almost lost it during the BRAC ceremony, commissioning, whatever that thing is
Yeah,
called.
decommissioning.
Decommissioning, where they see if the base that you have is worth keeping open or not.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have the missile testing range, which is pretty important, where they test stuff like that, and then bordering some of these edges of the missile testing range or observatories. There's like 7 in this area around through there, but the one we're talking
Yeah.
about is Sunspot.
It's funny. It's like a little belt across the lower part of New Mexico.
Well, it's because it has the higher elevation
Yeah.
where they're sitting, and this looks for solar radiation. That's what it does. Is it actually uses, the telescope that it has to actually capture images of the sun and look for solar flares and hot spots and all sorts of crazy stuff. So,
And this is a pretty significant one, even though up until 2 weeks ago, nobody had ever heard of it.
Yeah.
This is the Cloudcroft Sunspot Observatory that works with the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, aka AURA, which
Yeah.
is, like the big thing about government entities and unnamed entities with
Government.
names. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for short, it's AURA, but they are a pretty big one. They work in collaboration across the globe, sending different scientists to each of these observatories for different things.
yeah.
So the last we had known was that Cloudcroft was participating in something with another observatory in Hawaii, one in Argentina, and another one, I guess, someplace else.
Yeah, see, which is not unusual
Yeah.
because they do that. They basically share data. They point in the same direction where one records data for a minute, then the other one records data for a minute, then they bounce the information back and forth to make sure it's the same.
Yeah.
It's all part of making sure you have credible data. So they share the workload with all this.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing: the sunspot, just out of nowhere, this place was shut down,
And
like completely closed off.
by
shut
out
down.
of nowhere, I mean, like, I joined the local Facebook groups and I was watching the chatter, and these people were like, yeah, literally out of nowhere, local Otero County Sheriff's Department pulled up, the FBI pulled up, and another team pulled up, escorted everybody off of the property. We didn't see what happened to them. They also evacuated not just the observatory and the living facilities, they also evacuated 2 houses that were on the property and 2 homesteads that were near the property.
Yeah.
And those 2 homesteads, I know one of them had more than one house on it. So it was like a whole family. They evacuated everybody away from that, put some people in hotels. We don't really know what happened to everybody else. But the rest of the town got told, this place is closed down, shut out, everybody has to be evacuated. Do not come anywhere near here. And nothing, that was it. And it was so tight-lipped, and it's such a rural area that most of us here in New Mexico, like we live in the same state, did not find out about it for 2 to 3 days after it had started.
Yeah.
So 2 to 3 days, we find out, it immediately picks up on major news channels. Gizmodo was one of the places I was using to follow it. Our local news, I would find names in the articles for our local news and then try to reach out on social media and see if I could find out more about those people. And nobody was being told anything. Even the local sheriff, like the head sheriff for Otero County, he kind of went on a little rant, or not necessarily a rant. He's like, we're in the dark.
Yeah.
All we know is that we're supposed to keep the place closed off. Nobody's supposed to be on the property. Well, when he made a statement like that, and certain other websites made similar statements, like nobody's being told what's been going on, certain paranormal and Fortean websites went off the deep end. They started saying other observatories had been closed. That wasn't true. I believe one of the Hawaii observatories was temporarily closed, but it was actually due to maintenance. So it wasn't a big deal or something,
Yeah.
But all these other observatories, they weren't actually closed. That was a false report from, where is it?
Doesn't matter where it's from.
Oh, yeah. So all this stuff was, culminating into bigger and bigger things. And then we got told that the Sunspot Observatory would be closed indefinitely, I think is the words. So immediately I started thinking, oh my God, somebody mailed, a disease or something in the mail or some sort of terrorism,
I mean, a lot of that came about because of the fact that they
Yeah.
actually closed down the post office.
Yeah.
But see, there were a couple
Yeah.
different things that you're missing here.
Yeah.
The more observatories being closed happened about 3 days later.
Yeah.
There was a couple different videos where I found out about this was from YouTube,
Yeah.
where they're saying what's going on, and they were saying that, okay, it was closed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why it was closed, and that they turned off the telescope, right? So you couldn't see anything, and that they were only showing partial images of what was going on, and what were they trying to hide? Because there was
Yeah.
the theory that, okay, there's a bunch of stuff that's happened. Now, this kind of goes back to another theory that Okay, we've been in space for a very long time. We've got a base on Mars. We have a base on the moon. We have bases all over the place, and that our space force, if you will, right, has been in place since before we got to the moon. And we've been watching and seeing all of this stuff going down and been keeping an eye on this sort of thing for 50, 60, 70 years so far. And the reason why they shut it down is because coming from behind the moon was a huge UFO armada.
Oh.
Of 20 to 30 craft, and people were freaking out saying, hey, close it off because then that would be the definitive proof that there's actually aliens. And then there was this lady who I won't say what her name is, released this bad footage that she took with her phone connected to a telescope of, look, you can see the flying discs.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see this. And all you could see was every little bit of manufacturing shit inside her camera. Right? Because it was all green, and I'm looking at him going, okay, this is junk. And people are like, oh, my God, the government's trying to hide stuff. And he kept going out of control.
Was it like sensor refraction or something?
Well, I had links at one time, and now all that stuff's gone. But no, it was just basically specs that showed up. See, because the way your camera works, and light goes inside the camera, the light itself gets bounced and scattered and refracted and everything like that. And there's coatings inside there to make sure the image that you get is the image you're trying to take a picture of. And the way this was done was that you could see bits of dust and all sorts of stuff inside there. And it was like, there you go, that's the definitive proof. I took this picture after the observatory went down. And it's like, okay, how can you point a telescope at the sun and get the same images that this radio telescope or this sunspot observatory telescope? All right, so it was garbage.
Yeah.
And then other people were like, well, they shut it down because of, they don't want us to see what's going on. And then, oh, wait, this is definitely terrorist because the post office being shut down because they were worried about ricin and everything else, And they're like, okay. And then, so from there, it sort of went, okay, well, that's probably not what it is. And then the almost next to the final theory of what it was that, because they were doing active testing on the missile range.
Yeah.
Was that some sort of rocket or some sort of weapon that they were testing had a really highly sensitive payload, right?
Yeah.
And it went up, had a problem, came down, and since it came down a couple miles away from the observatory, and everything that was there was really sort of highly suspect and unknown, that they came in real quick and they evacuated everybody out of the area so that they could recover whatever was going on.
Which would make sense.
That totally makes sense, to recover whatever happened there and pick up, because this happened, allegedly something happened because there was reported an explosion type sound a day before this actually happened. Okay.
Oh.
Before it got closed, yeah. And they said, okay, well, it makes sense that if they were shooting a missile and it had a really highly sensitive payload, and it crashed there, they would have to recover all of it. And you also have to worry about things like hydrazine and all sorts of other rocket-type gases and propulsions and stuff like that. And it becomes a toxic sort of spill thing.
Yeah.
And the theory is that, well, they wouldn't normally worry about that kind of thing because that's what the testing range is for. But since it happened a couple miles away from this place and they were worried about off-gassing and everything else happening, that they had to evacuate those people.
See, that would make sense.
Because of shifting winds and things like that.
Yeah.
Because that was something they completely didn't take into account when they actually dropped the first atomic bomb, is that these winds would carry this radioactive fallout and contaminate 88 plus, was it 90 plus square miles of people? So there's rules in place for this kind of thing, and that was the thought, that they just got everybody out of there real quick, and since the post office is a federal installation, they had to close it.
See, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And so there's a bunch of shit going on with this whole thing. And I'm reading this step by step going, what is going on with this?
Yeah.
Now, what are they saying? Finally, and there was video of people like driving onto the facility going, look, it's abandoned. Well, yeah, of course it's abandoned. They closed it.
Yeah.
And they said leave. And the fact that it was abandoned and there wasn't people there locked down guarding the facility tells me that it's not nearly as bad as what everybody thinks. It's not aliens.
Yeah.
Right?
So.
And then with the whole... At the same time that the rocket motor, failed missile test theory was going around, they were saying, oh, it's got to be espionage.
See, which
somebody was there spying on the missile range.
Which I kind of thought of. I was like, look, either it's espionage or some sort of biochemical espionage.
Something, which would kind of work because you're like, okay, so.
Because the fact that here's the thing, one of the articles I did find stated that not only was the post office closed, but the only postmistress, I should say, she was...
Postmistress of the dark.
Yeah, she was held and questioned for a very long time.
Well...
So,
Yeah.
And that I was like, okay, I don't think it's something malevolent. I think, maybe there was an act of concern that she might be sick or something happened.
Yeah.
But like that footage that you were mentioning, people wandering around while the place is closed, like basically abandoned. The one thing that got me was there was all that drone footage, or people saying they were trespassing and there were drones watching them. Well, yes, that's kind of cue the X-Files music, but also
Yeah, but the drones that were watching them,
Yeah.
the one drone that was watching them is a DJI Phantom 3 like I have.
yeah,
If the government doesn't need a drone to spy on that place.
yeah, they just need to turn some cameras on.
Yeah, and so it kind of makes me wonder if, because the end result is that they're saying, okay, this is a case of child porn.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, here's the weird thing about that. If this facility handles classified or secret material, which it could, it's a federal facility, and they thought something like that was happening on their computers there, they would remove every computer in the building.
Yeah.
That's what you do. If you now, I'm going to make some people mad. If you're Hillary Clinton and you've destroyed 30,000 emails in the server and all that stuff, you can't do that. There's policies, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is that if they think that there's been a compromised information breach, whether it's classified secret or no foreign dissemination or any of that stuff, they come and they do a check, and then they remove all of that to determine where the breach actually came from. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you destroyed a computer, that's jail.
Oh.
If you were storing information, right, which can be considered secret or classified information, and you stored it somewhere else in an unsanctioned, unauthorized computer, that's jail time.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever Hillary did was wrong. But see, if anybody else had done that, the same thing would happen. They would show up, like FBI or whoever's coming, whatever government agency is close enough and has the ability to recover classified
Yeah.
and secret and top secret information, would show up and they would confiscate every computer in there, every server in there, all the electronic stuff. It has to go.
Oh.
And if they can't confiscate it or get it under positive control, then they would destroy it.
Oh.
So would they come in there for a case of child pornography and grab every computer?
Yeah.
Probably. It depends on what secure information they actually have there. So I don't know. I don't know whether it doesn't make sense to me that they would show up like that, right, for a day, kick everybody out of there, and obviously not take anything.
Yeah.
They just shut it down, and they didn't even lock it up, and they didn't place it under guard or anything like that.
Yeah. Because
So-
if this was an electronic crime, like you were saying, all that detail and all that data collection, all that recovery would be necessary. And the one thing that stuck out.
It's required.
Yeah, it's required. One thing that kind of sticks out is the cataloging and documenting of evidence, chain of evidence, things like that. There's that one video I think we shared last week of the dude walking through the observatory while it was abandoned, and he noted that there was significantly an X-Files DVD case that was just laying in the trash. Sadly, if you were holding photography or video crimes against children, you might want to store it in something inconspicuous. I would take that DVD as well. I would have taken everything that.
Well, they didn't take anything. That's the whole thing.
They didn't take anything.
So it doesn't tell me, to me, it doesn't seem at all that it's a case of child pornography.
Yeah. And
because you don't evacuate an entire facility and a post office and basically
Yeah.
lock this small place down for a case of child pornography.
now they are saying that this person, the person of interest that they have taken into custody, he's 30 years old, lived on the property, owned by his parents. He started to claim that he wasn't able to find his laptop. He started going a little nuts, saying there was a serial killer in the area and that he was fearful the killer might enter the facility and execute someone. So we have a possibly mentally disturbed person in distress.
Maybe a dude's making up a cover story. Maybe
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Who knows? It could be.
But he's acting erratically. We don't know if this is true or not, but it's very easy to find a emotionally unstable person and use them as the fall guy for this whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me, because so few details are coming out right now. Granted, as of today, they have just announced that this investigation is supposedly closed.
Yeah, they don't even care.
Yeah.
And see, that's another thing. How can they close something that quick?
Yeah.
You know, what they showed up and then they grabbed the one laptop,
Yeah.
kicked everybody out for like 4 or 5 days. Then they didn't have anybody there.
And then
they weren't continuing an investigation. There wasn't like a skeleton crew of FBI people going through and sifting through everything and looking for all that stuff.
There's multiple witnesses from the Cloudcroft area, including the video that I keep referencing, who say there was a strange smell on the whole compound or whole area. Some people actually pointed out a smell of ozone, and I'm like, okay, that's leaning towards, all of our original theories, all those things that I was mad at the media for jumping to conclusions, but also, hey, it could be very likely. If it was a bio threat, then you would need to kind of basically blow everything out, but it wasn't. You have people literally the next day walking around.
Yeah.
So
to kind of wrap it up in a little bit of a nutshell, the Sunspot Observatory was just strangely out of nowhere closed.
And now
The reason why it was closed, they still don't know exactly. The theory was that they had seen something coming from behind the sun that nobody wanted us to know. So the FBI came in to claim everything so that no images or video or anything leading to first contact, if you will, would be released to the people, right? Mm-hmm. Then the next theory is that espionage was happening somehow. And then the next theory was that, and this is right around the same time, that a rocket had gone down because there are missile testing ranges in that area. And it was a very sensitive payload, and they wanted to get people away so that people couldn't see them doing the recovery efforts of the rocket, right? Mm-hmm. And then the final theory is that it's a case of somebody who worked there storing child pornography on government computers. And what makes it weird is they evacuated everything in the facility, which is not very big. They also evacuated a post office and a couple people that live in that area, and supposedly locked everything down under like quarantine conditions, right? Mm-hmm. For about 5 days. And then at the end of all of this, there's just saying, it was illegal material on computers, and that's why they closed everything down. And we've removed all that illegal material type stuff, and now we're going to open it back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, we had something pretty significant that does border on a conspiracy or paranormal or UFO level.
Yeah.
But nothing's really being... I kind of feel just like with Roswell. When Roswell happened, there were all these very extreme news reports that happened, and they circulated throughout New Mexico and then the whole United States. And then a few days later, U.S. government releases an official statement that is just unbelievable.
Well,
I don't know.
Nobody gives a shit is the whole thing. So we care because it happened here, because it was a high strangeness.
Yeah.
For, why is that closed? And, why did it close? And then why is that closed? In other words, there was no reason for it to be closed.
Yeah.
They don't do anything like super top secret. It's not like they came and closed down like Sandia National Laboratories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just a little observatory. And what fed into this whole thing and making it even more and more weird was like the false reports that, they closed down 8 other solar observatories. So there's definitely something coming from behind the sun to kill us all. So, yeah, it was according to this, much ado about nothing. Is it child pornography? I don't know. And they see, the one guy who made the video walking around, he basically says it smells weird.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? And he could have been reading the same thing, because around the same time this guy was starting to walk around was also the theory that, hey, a missile crashed too close to this place, right?
Yeah.
And when a missile carrying all this toxic stuff crashes and explodes or leaks or whatever, it gets into the air, and they wanted to evacuate people to keep them safe, right?
Yeah.
That you would smell something like that. So it sort of fed into that as well. But the thing is, though, is that the FBI, they wouldn't necessarily show up. Whoever's closest would respond, which would probably actually be the FBI, although you do have White Sands Missile Testing Range right there. Why wouldn't they send people there?
Yeah.
To the place if that was the case? In other words, big crash happened, in order to get them to get the people safe, they would basically take the people on the base, send them there to evacuate the observatory and the post office and anybody in the immediate area. Then they would set up an area to keep people from going in while the cleanup actually happened. That didn't happen either.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of weird things that should have happened depending on the situation that didn't. And so that's what makes the whole thing even more strange.
I mean,
You know, the FBI there should have been people going, yeah, they were carrying stuff out of there.
yeah.
No, if they thought it was espionage, they would remove everything.
Yeah.
If they thought it was a terrorist attack using chemical, biological, or radiological type weapons, there would be a bunch of people there and they would basically get rid of everything.
And you know what? That's another thing.
That didn't happen either.
I haven't found it, but there was articles when this all first started happening about a disgruntled employee. And he was a researcher from another observatory.
That was something that was also made up.
Yeah.
Because why would you contaminate and possibly kill the people that work there? You have to be a disgruntled employee.
Yeah.
You can blame everything off a disgruntled employee. Terrorism, nope. If somebody shows up to a government installation and starts shooting people, they will never call it terrorism. They will say,
Disgruntled employee.
right.
My thing was they were
And that's happened 4 different times.
tweaking it a certain way, a disgruntled employee from a certain country, of a certain ethnicity, and I'm like, wait, really? We're already throwing that out?
And so, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. So we have no
Is this whole thing
idea.
over? No, something happened, and
No.
we still don't know what happened.
Yeah. I'm in the Facebook groups watching stuff, and I think the last thing I saw, because these are very rural areas, so a lot of them will form little Facebook groups and just talk to each other about how the town's doing or what's
Yeah.
going on nearby. And I think 2 days ago, somebody tried to drive up to the observatory, and the sheriff's department is actually out there saying, no, nobody's allowed, turn around.
Well, yeah.
But it's just one sheriff truck, so yeah.
That's all there needs to be. If it was anything more important
Yeah.
or required government intervention,
See, thank you. I agree, Prospero. So he's, he.
well, excuse me. If a missile crashes, it would definitely be a military situation rather than the FBI coming in. Military intelligence would lock down the area rather than the FBI. Not true.
Really?
Yeah. If it's a small base, you don't have that many people. Now, as big as White Sands Missile Testing Range is, they don't have a lot of people on that base. Now, if the threat came from outside of that, or they had to, by command policy, notify other federal government installations, in other words, we need help,
Yeah.
then they would totally contact the FBI.
Okay.
They would get the FBI first because they are government, right? Even more so than trying to do something like, activate the National Guard in the area, that kind of thing. So,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah.
The
I mean, if it
National
was
Guard-
really that bad, where the National Guard should have. So, I mean, the fact that the FBI showed up, I mean, who knows? That's not necessarily uncommon because the base commander could call it in.
Yeah.
So, federal government agencies are allowed to work within themselves. Now, if it happened at a much larger military installation, like the Air Force base we have here, no FBI would be involved at all. Now, if something happened and they thought that there may be some criminal aspect to it, then they can certainly call the FBI. But the FBI and things like naval criminal investigative and the Army, they all work together with this sort of thing to a certain point.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if it wasn't a military accident and it wasn't necessarily espionage or terrorism and it wasn't all this stuff, what else could it be?
I don't know.
If you're trying to plant a seed of something going on to sort of, do that whole diversionary tactic thing, right?
Yeah.
If you say child pornography, nobody's going to look any further.
That's true.
Nobody's going to dig into this and go, oh, no, I don't even want to be involved in that, man.
Yeah.
Because that's even a better story. That's like the nuclear option. That's a better story than saying, oh, a disgruntled employee.
Yeah.
Child porno? No way, man. Not getting involved in that. And they'll just let it go.
Plus, child porno automatically falls into federal as opposed to county. Or
Anything that happens on a
city.
federal installation
Yeah.
is federal. And if they don't have the personnel to take care of it, it becomes an FBI thing.
True. Yeah. And I hate.
Not a CIA or it becomes FBI.
I hate making these assumptions or trying to break this down because in
And who's to
itself,
say they were actually FBI?
Yeah.
Because you also have NSA involved in this as well.
yeah, because
So,
unfortunately, child exploitation is a terrible, terrible thing. I don't want to imagine this. I don't want to think that this is happening. So I'm not going to ask any questions.
yeah, I don't want to be involved in that, man.
But the way this unfolds, it makes me question. And this is another thing, just living here in New Mexico. One of the creepy things about living in New Mexico, when we travel to these offbeat, little crazy, little quirky towns, one thing I've noticed is there's not a lot of kids in these little rural,
No.
far off places.
Hell no. If you were a kid, would you want to grow up in some of these places? Get the hell out of there, man. Go to
Yeah.
a big city. Go somewhere that's exciting.
Well, if you're a parent, the one who actually works and does a job and can afford to move, you probably don't want to raise your kids in these areas.
Yeah, schools are typically not as good because
So-
they don't have as many,
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of weirdness going on. I think a lot of it is actually caused by how rural everything is. Because just because the border of the base, right, is really close to Cloudcroft doesn't mean you can get to it easily.
No.
So you'd have to drive like almost 70 miles out of the way to kind of come up on it. So I don't know. Do I think it's child pornography? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right. Do I think it's aliens coming from behind the sun to get us?
No.
Who knows? I don't know how long it takes an alien craft to come from behind the sun to get into our atmosphere. I would think pretty quick. Is it a missile that went wrong? Maybe.
See.
Did this dude go buck wild and call in a bunch of crazy ass threats and freak the FBI out and they come flying in, guns a-blazing?
Possible.
That's possible.
I'm leaning
if,
towards
if
that.
They were, if somebody was called in mentally distressed or whatever, or this guy really is
Yeah.
maybe he's mentally distressed and they found something that could be construed as child porno. And this guy called in a bunch of threats, right?
Yeah.
And freaking them all out, and the FBI come blowing in there all super crazy and stuff, and then realized that there really wasn't nothing going on, but they needed to make sure that they had to do an investigation. They closed everything down for 5 days because it happened close to the weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe.
See, I am leaning
I don't know.
towards that. Yeah. But my thoughts are with everybody who lives in Cloudcroft. This was a terrible experience. I mean,
It's like 5 people. Who gives a shit?
hey.
Seriously.
Okay, so the town of Cloudcroft is like maybe 100 people.
Well, we don't know.
So-
Let's look it up.
Yeah.
It's probably more than that.
So,
I mean, yeah, this was a big deal. The post office closed and the observatory closed, and why did it close? And nobody said anything. And then the one sheriff who got all mad about it was like, I'm not being told anything. Well, maybe that sheriff doesn't need to know.
the entire village, so the whole region, which is very mapped, very funny. That is the weirdest mapping ever.
Yeah.
Is 693, and that's during peak tourism
Tourist
season.
hours?
Yeah.
Okay, so realistically, it's what?
Yeah.
300, 400 people maybe?
They're saying 670 on average. So, but the town, because, I think it's like, here's the observatory, here's the town, and then there's this weird zoning. So here's a little section of the town too.
Yeah.
So they're counting that whole Lincoln National Forest area. So,
Okay.
yeah.
See. Yeah, according to 2010 census 674
Yeah.
people.
And it's funny.
And we've been there. There's not really a whole lot going on there for sure.
yeah. Well, no, we
It's in a
drove through here.
well, yeah,
didn't we?
because there was
Yeah.
nothing going on. It was like the only thing they had was the observatory.
Yeah.
And I like that. The most overlooked and underrated destination spot. Well, it depends because see, what they're not saying is, if you want to go to the observatory, it's not paved all the way up there.
No.
So in certain times of the year, you can't even get up there. There's a
Yeah.
term. We tried to go up there to go camping one time, and it was like we couldn't even make the left-hand turn to get on the small dirt road to go up there.
Yeah, our friend Carlos has been up there
So,
once or
like,
twice.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You can see the stars, and you can. It's it's up there. It's nice and clear, but you can't get up there without a truck. So
Yeah.
I mean,
If your vehicle can make it, you can go lay on a blanket in the freezing cold and watch the most amazing stars.
yeah, which
So-
I would do. But
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It just
Well, the Freedom of Information Act, as somebody's bringing up in the old chat here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could do that a couple years from now.
yeah,
So
16 months, 18 months.
no, it depends. If the investigation's ongoing or whatever, then it could be years.
Oh,
But I don't really think there's anything going on anymore.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily agree with the whole child porno thing. I think just a whole bunch of weird shit happened, and the FBI come flying in there trying to address whatever credible threat it may be. Then they realize it really wasn't that much of a threat.
Which is one
And then
thing,
rather than waste the man hours and all that stuff by having people stationed there, they just closed it
which is one thing that
and
has
said, we'll
been
come back, you know?
bugging me for the past year and a half here in New Mexico. We've had some very rural areas close to certain other things where some very tragic and very disturbing news accounts come out days later.
Yeah.
The FBI has been to several of these small towns in the past year. In conclusion, it's usually been something tragic like a family murder-suicide or some sort of raid that's
Yeah.
had to happen. But it keeps happening here in New Mexico, and
Yeah.
that is just unsettling to me. I mean, I've always wanted to live in a small town, little tiny town, little rural thing.
Yeah, but there's a little weirdness that happens.
One thing that I don't like is this weirdness that I'm seeing in all these little New Mexico towns.
Yeah,
That's just
well, I mean,
terrifying
think
to
about
me.
it. They blew the atomic bomb up here.
Yeah.
They hated New Mexico so much they bombed it.
There's a meme that's going around that says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like New Mexico is so terrible that when the U.S. decided to test their nuclear weapons, the first place they thought of is let's blow these things up in New Mexico.
Yeah. Let's bomb New Mexico. But you know what, though? Honestly, though, New Mexico really wasn't that populated, I guess. It sort of grew
It's
up
still
after
not.
that. Yeah, I think it is.
Like the most recent accounts are that over 65% of the population of New Mexico lives in the Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, in Bernalillo or Sandoval counties, which equals Rio Rancho, Placitas,
Well, yeah.
and Albuquerque. That's over half of the population only lives in those three little things, yet this is like the 5th largest state in the United States.
Yeah, but that just means that, about 89 to 92% of this place is just dirt.
That's kind of bad. Yeah.
It's kind of true, though, isn't it?
And Prospero, that's actually an interesting theory I think Greg has been working on, and I have, which is that the background radiation may have had an effect on mental
Oh,
acuity
hell
in this
yeah.
area.
I totally believe that.
Yeah. When we went to White Sands,
There's
Missile
some
Range,
weird defective people here, and I'm not just saying that because of I think certain diseases and things like that don't normally crop or show up in certain places thrive here.
Yeah.
And, it's not just a study of epidemiology where you say, okay, let's look at the study of coincidence here and say, okay, an atomic bomb blew up, and coincidentally, there's a higher rate of, mentally defective people.
And not just mentally defective people. There are some great people here in New Mexico.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they're
also-
they're not from New Mexico.
So one of my first jobs out here,
They came from somewhere else, right?
I worked at a call center, and this call center had a wide range of lower class and middle class people. So people in that financial demographic. So, I'm dealing with all these people and made a lot of really great friends. One of the things I noticed was a lot of females out here have had to have gallbladder surgery. Their gallbladders have gone defective. Some sort of ailments, and we all know gallbladders, they're part of
I
the,
don't think you should be talking about that really loud.
it's part of their system that helps them flush certain toxins and certain things like that. Yeah, like I could literally throw a rock in my call center, not that I should have, and hit anybody and said, hey, do you have a gallbladder? No, I had that removed 5 years ago.
Maybe that's the cool thing.
No, I don't. I think that's a little suspect to me. So,
Yeah. There is a comment that makes probably even more sense. Mentally defective equals crystal meth. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And you sprinkle that with some radiation, and there you go.
yeah.
All right. So we're going to take a second and take a break. You're listening to Cheap Geek Podcast. We'll be right back.
Audible is an audio entertainment that entertains, educates, and inspires. For you, the listeners of the CreepGeeks podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/cheapgeek. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cheapgeek for your free audiobook.
Yeah, and we're back. So we got something new to talk about. Yeah?
You
What
want
do
to talk about it?
I don't care.
Okay, you talk.
I don't care.
Talk about it.
All right, so every once in a while we find something pretty cool, and this is pretty cool. This Laredo, Texas teacher shares photos of UFO sighting near Laredo.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what does that mean? I don't know. We're going to look. So we will share to you through the magic of all the technology that we've come up with and figured out how to put all this that you see in front of you together for low money, which is still too much money. Bam. So let's all look together and see if we can see this UFO sighting. And for those of you listening to the audio podcast, we'll describe it in great and agonizing detail.
What?
What they're looking at. Are you even paying attention?
No.
Exactly. Okay, so this San Antonio man, right, said he got this first photo was caught 30 minutes north of Laredo, and it shows a UFO. No, not for nothing. To me, it looks like a Lego piece in the sunset, which just tells me that something moved. So I don't know. Already, we're not looking good when it comes to, is this an actual UFO, right?
There's a slideshow so you can see it.
Yeah, watch.
Yeah.
I'll press the next one. There it is. And it looks like the sort of the top angled side of a Lego piece that through long exposure has been moved.
You know
Right?
what it looks like to me? He's a teacher. That looks like highlighter when you got something wrong.
Maybe. That's just kind of dumb. It actually more looks like the candy you get that you unroll.
Yeah.
What was that stuff? Like Airhead? Not Airheads, but remember it was like all salty and sweet? Yeah.
Fruit roll-ups.
No, it was it was kind of like that, but it was like, it wasn't fruity. It wasn't good for you at all, but it was like unroll it. And it was
yeah.
like sweet and sour. And anyway, it still doesn't look like a UFO.
Yeah.
It looks like kind of a beef up, and then there you go. Boom. You get a slideshow part that says UFOs in Texas. So this guy said that he seen a UFO, submitted 2 pictures that look like Lego pieces, and that's it. So I don't know.
Oh, you should click next on this. Click next again. Look at, it's a basket, everybody. It's a,
Or it could be the bottom of the TARDIS,
yeah.
or a cube coming down from the sky.
It looks like a basket. I almost bought it Michael's Arts and Crafts.
And then this guy, I like how he circled it and put UFO so you could see that. Doesn't look like a UFO to me. There's a speck in the sky. That's a UFO.
Yeah.
Could be a balloon.
I don't even see it in the next
This is
one.
like Google Maps showing where this guy lives on Tyler Street.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Image. Okay. So when I see stuff like this, it kind of makes me sad. Because you're like, man, this is going to be great. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna see, maybe it'd be cool. Like, man, without a shadow of a doubt, that looks like that could be from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And it never is. It's always something dumb. It's like, oh, here's this rectangle in the sky, UFO. I mean, granted, you don't know what it is, and it looks like it's in the sky, so it could be an unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
But it's not a saucer, man. It's not what we would think to be a UFO.
Oh, there's more.
It's just like a shit picture.
Oh, if you click continue, there's some.
I don't even want to.
Yeah, it's so bad. The next one.
There's
you'll love
like
the
some
next
light
one.
streaks that you can see. Everything. That's a flare. Like a flare in the sky, like a light flare from something being super bright. There is nothing up. There's a whole bunch of lights on the horizon. Ooh, what is that?
Oh, that might be. Remember the Paranormal Rangers? They drew a description of the lights that they saw.
Yeah, but it says the Laredo lights revealed in a long exposure picture taken at night
A long
on the
exposure
northern horizon.
picture.
Okay, so 1, 2, depending on the interval area, this effectively could be a car.
Yeah. This is why it is very hard for people who love photography to take seriously some of these UFO encounters.
Yeah.
Because you end up, much like your own photography, like when I take pictures for whatever I'm doing, I'm very critical. I end up being very critical of these pictures as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, are you kidding me? I mean, I can do that on accident if I drop my phone, you know?
Yeah.
So,
There's another picture of FLIR. This FLIR, which is forward-looking infrared thermal imaging camera, shows the Marfa lights. Okay.
okay. And then there's some deer cam pictures. Come on.
Yeah, of what looks like this could be a flying saucer that
Oh, it's
landed.
a blurry deer. It's a,
Well, unless the deer's wearing a headlight. I mean, to me, it looks like a car, long exposure, doing a donut.
yeah. That's a great question, Timothy. Timothy popped into the chat and said, do photographers get questioned by the authorities? So, if you have an encounter, a paranormal encounter, or UFO encounter, I should say, if the person reached out to the local authorities, calling the non-emergency police line or even 911, 911 dispatchers are asked to ask a series of questions regarding these encounters. And they try, because there's actually protocol for this. They ask a series of questions. Depending on the level of distress the caller is in, they may or may not send somebody out. Now, if they do not call the authorities, if they call or email MUFON, I've been
What
through
is
this.
MUFON?
I don't know what it stands for.
It's a mutual UFO network.
Okay, so if you reach out to MUFON, which I have
I
done,
think.
because I took a picture of something that didn't sit right with me and I sent it to them. What MUFON does behind the scenes before contacting you is they check for any flights that were scheduled in the area. They check for any landings or unexpected aircraft activity, like sudden things like helicopter departures and stuff like that. They check for those things. Then they reach back out to you with a series of questions that you answer, and then they get back to you within a few business days, sometimes a week, with what they feel the encounter was. And if the encounter has a certain level of merit, MUFON may send an investigator.
And what they don't tell you is that if they come back and say, oh, well, that's just like a weather balloon, and you keep going back and they're adamant that that is not,
Yeah.
then they actually will kind of come back to you again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, it's just a case of child pornography.
Now, if you don't report to MUFON and you just go straight to Facebook or the local news, they will also ask you a series of questions depending on your credibility at the time of your call or how you reach out to them. And that's about it. Now, there are sites out there like the site where I submitted my weird fish photo thing.
Cryptozoology?
Yeah. They sent me back a list of questions to answer. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's about it.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, if it's a mass sighting like the Phoenix Lights, that's something different. Everybody gets interviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Phoenix Lights, those were those weird lights that showed up, the Paranormal Rangers, which we talked about in a previous podcast. They had many witnesses, but everybody in this whole area saw a UFO. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A string of them.
Yeah, so when it's something serious
one
like
big
that,
giant one.
when like a whole town can literally sit in their backyards and talk to each other about watching these UFOs above them, then yeah, everybody gets investigated. But I think that's a great question. I mean, yeah, well, you're very welcome, Timothy. You said like, wow, good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a process these days. It's not like, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s where you told a story after seeing something to one of your buddies and eventually the town sheriff comes and asks you some questions, or somehow it makes it onto Weekly World News.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for people who want to believe, there's a process now. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a process. I've actually been writing interview questions for some stuff we
Don't
want
be giving away our secrets. So,
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that you can get fined $124 for kicking a seagull that ate your cheeseburger? Did you?
No, I did not.
Well, according to the article thing that you put in here, you certainly can.
Oh, yeah.
This happened in Hampton, New Mexico, New Hampshire. Sorry. Kind of changing gears here. A man accused of kicking a seagull that tried to eat his cheeseburger.
Yeah.
A New Hampshire beach has been fined $124.
So I actually put this in the rant section.
I know.
So, okay.
Why you want to rant? The cheeseburger is fine, but first the cheeseburger did not belong to the seagull.
Yes.
It belonged to the dude.
Yes.
And then the seagull, being a flying rat with wings, these things, right? Probably
Yeah.
came over and said, "Yo, bro, give me some of that cheeseburger."
So, my rant is that
And the dude's like, "No."
New Hampshire Fish and Game states that seagulls are protected under federal law
That's
in New
not true.
Hampshire, I guess. And okay, I lived by the beach for most of my life. I have 2 dogs. I've taken them to the beach. They love the beach. Pepper doesn't like the beach very much anymore. Why? Because one time she got into a altercation with a seagull who wanted to take something from her.
That's right.
And
This
actually
little-
got her on the top of the head. And it made me so mad because I am a full-grown woman stumbling in the sand trying to chase after a seagull that's trying to get my little dog.
It's a good thing you didn't kick it because you would have had to pay $124.
And what would have happened if Ben had decided to, take a chomp out of that seagull?
He didn't have pockets and or a wallet, so probably nothing.
I mean, you should be able to defend your cheeseburger against
That's
these
right.
flying rats, and I don't think this man should have been fined $124.
Well, police investigated a report from a bystander. There you go, somebody getting involved, right?
Yeah.
And they said that the guy's name, Nate, we'll just call him Nate because that's his name, Nate ran close or whatever, you can see it, said he just returned from getting a cheeseburger and fries and was sitting on the sand,
Yeah.
right? He says the seagulls got to the burger and he spun around with his leg to shoo one away, but struck the bird. He said it was a simple mistake.
I have smacked a seagull
A
in the
witness
face.
said it appeared that the bird's leg was injured and that it struggled to fly away. It probably struggled to fly away because it was so full of other people's food, right?
Yeah.
So the fish and game guy, Adam Cheney, says seagulls are protected under federal law. I don't think so.
Yeah.
We should ask the Google,
Yeah.
or if anybody's in the chat and they're quick on the draw, they can ask the Google, are seagulls protected?
Oh, wow. It's actually the top search result.
What does that say?
Are seagulls federally protected? Legal status: gulls are classified as migratory species and thus are protected by federal and, in most cases, state laws. In the United States, gulls may be taken only with a permit issued by Fish and Game.
Huh. Well, my first search result was seagulls are evil. Which I would have to agree with, right?
Yeah.
And so the Daily Edge says, here's proof that seagulls are the devil incarnate.
Oh, you should share that.
First, they are everywhere. Which is like, okay. I like that. That's
Yeah.
true, though. They are everywhere. I mean, I seen a couple seagulls here. Like, where the hell did you come from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let me see if I can share this and people can, watch. And they can follow along,
Yeah.
should they so desire. So first is that they're everywhere. And I could kind of see that, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, they're loud, right? And this is in Ireland, so they would know.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're loud. It means that people try to sleep with their windows open. They can't.
Oh, yeah.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, you got seagulls squawking at them. Look at this freaking picture of this seagull. Awful, right? They squawk. They're aggressive. Right? They're so aggressive that local councils have been forced to put up signs alerting people to the fact. Seagulls are aggressive. Do not feed them.
My uncle
See,
used
that's
to,
what the guy should have said to the New Hampshire Fish and Game. That thing tried to attack me, and I was defending myself because it's aggressive.
My uncle used to live in a cottage down in Chicks Beach, and he'd leave his windows open.
They will come in your house and take your shit.
They would come in the house, knock over his beers, and kind of try to eat beer, which is weird because they're birds,
Yeah, they like it, though. They're not
but
dumb.
they would try to lick up the beer, and they would steal his food while he was cooking because his biggest window is right in front of the kitchen.
You know what I could say for your uncle?
What?
Screens. Get some screens,
It was a
man.
tiny little cottage, not.
I don't
the
give a
best
shit.
cared
Screens
for
are
one.
amazing.
Yeah.
They will steal the food right out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm not playing that video. Right?
Yeah.
They have ruined the practice of filleting fish on the beach. That's just gross.
Oh gosh.
So we're going to be trying to fillet this fish, and out of nowhere, a seagull comes running up. Bam,
Oh.
snatch and grab. snatch and grab, man. And he's like running after it. Better be careful. It's going to cost him 120 something bucks.
Brittany's
Probably
like,
even more.
People feed the seagulls here, and I know, and that's part of the
They
problem.
do.
Because they start to expect it.
That's why they're so damn big,
Yeah,
man.
I was down at the oceanfront with both the dogs in Virginia, and just because I had treats for the big dog, because Pepper doesn't like to eat treats on the beach, whatever.
That's because sand gets in everything.
The seagulls wanted to eat the dog treats,
Gross.
and that's kind of what started my little altercation with the seagull.
Seagulls will eat. They don't give a.
Yeah.
Seagulls will eat whatever they want.
Yeah. Timothy's like, stand your ground.
You can't. Because you're going to get fined for it. I mean,
Yeah.
look at them. They shoplift.
But since they're migratory, and this is another point in the comments, Canadian geese, they're also migratory. So
Well, not anymore. Now they're considered residential geese.
Oh,
Seriously. So they
Yeah.
shoplift. They'll take your stuff. They have beady little eyes with a glint of horror behind them.
yeah.
And my favorite, they shit on you. And more importantly, this is where they get really evil. They shit on the elderly.
Would you stop?
That's what the article says. I'm just reading what the article says.
You know the little
They're
tiger.
just pooping on old people.
You know the little tiger cruises
Maybe they're
that
not fast enough to get away.
military families go on.
Yeah.
Where you're somebody's in the military, so the family goes on the boat and y'all sail around for a few hours.
Yeah, give them a little cruise.
It was like 3 tiger cruises in a row where a seagull pooped on me. But the last one was so
Same.
significant because with the old people, somebody had his grandma and his granddad and like somebody else, I think it was like an aunt, and me and all the old people, like all of them, we
Yeah.
all got pooped on. And I was just so angry. So, yeah.
That deserves the Asian banjo.
Stop it. But yeah, that's kind of why I didn't go on tiger cruises anymore.
They are awful.
I'm not afraid of sharks. I was afraid of
No.
seagulls.
In Virginia, there's this place called Mount Trashmore. It has a bunch of seagulls around it.
Yeah.
And my dad and my little brother and me were there. And my little brother was like 4 or 5. He used to have this really long, crazy, curly hair,
Yeah.
right? And we used to bring crackers to feed the ducks and the seagulls and stuff, right? Anyway. And so my dad put him on a little, there's a fence that kind of keeps you out of the water a little bit.
Yeah.
Put him up on top of one of those fence posts and put a soda cracker, like a, saltine in his hair. And the seagull is big, gnarly looking, dirty. The older and bigger they get, the more dirty they look,
Yeah.
This gnarly looking seagull come flying down and grab the soda cracker and just basically is like trying to fly away. And he had like 6 inches of my brother's curly hair like in his
Aw.
mouth, and he's just flying away. And he's like, pulling his hair. My brother's just screaming. And my dad is laughing so hard. Because he's just like freaking out. And he has to hold on to the fence post. He doesn't want to fall off the fence post. And so my dad, came in and like the seagull had to drop the soda cracker. Yeah. And then, hit the dirt. And this other one came swooping in and got it. But my brother was so mad. But it was so damn funny, man. It's like his hair. He's like about that long. He's like, things flying away. He's like, screaming. Yeah, good times.
I know this person as a full-grown adult.
Yeah, well, he doesn't keep the curly hair, but it's like super curly.
So wrong.
He still doesn't like seagulls. So, it's funny.
It's so bad.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's some proof that seagulls are the devil, and if you kick one, you're going to pay a $124 fine.
Which
Personally, I think if you come flying up and you're like, hey, I'm going to get some of that, I think it's bug, hey, you're on your own, man. Go walk up to someone, grab a cheeseburger, and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Why are they going to find him?
And that's the point of my rant. I don't think they are an endangered species. I don't think that the seagull was in any harm, because I've seen seagulls fake injuries.
Oh, yeah.
To get more
They're like, "Oh,
more bread or
look at my
crackers
little
than other
nubby
ones.
foot. Oh."
And then, because there's this viral a meme or video going around where this girl was crying because she saw a duck standing with just one foot.
Yeah.
And she was crying for like 10 minutes, and then she's like, y'all, and he puts his foot down. Seagulls do that too.
Yeah.
So I don't think any sympathy should have been given to the seagull.
Yeah.
And being someone who grew up right next to the beach, like literally, I mean,
And if you work down by the water.
Yeah, or working down by
'Cause,
the water.
Like Brittany works down by the water, and she's
Yeah.
like, they creep up on the dock. They do. They just wait, man.
I have no sympathy for seagulls.
Wow, I didn't know that. In British Columbia, it is illegal to possess the feathers from crows, seagulls, eagles, or other wild birds unless you're First Nations.
Oh, wow.
That means native.
Well, we have a similar law here in the U.S. for eagles, certain hawks, and owls.
Yeah.
So you can't own that stuff.
They just they just covered everything in British Columbia.
They're like, yeah. In the United States as well, or USA, you can also not hunt certain animals
Yeah.
unless you're First Nations or Native people. So, yeah, that's I don't know. I wouldn't want a seagull feather anyhow. I mean, those things fly.
Gross.
They fly into dumpsters, seriously.
They don't give a crap.
But that was my rant, because I don't think that man should have been fined. Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. My other rant, this has been going around the news.
You got multiple rants?
Yeah, I did. So there was an Albuquerque spa, so right here in our city, and it started having a series of complaints filed against it for certain violations.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. VIP Spa, which is a very popular spa. So if any of my Albuquerque female friends or male friends, whatever, are listening and you went to the spa, please go get yourself tested. There are now allegations warning that customers who receive something called a vampire facial and certain other services that were very intense, you need to be tested for HIV, hepatitis B, and C. And my rant is, why would you trust an esthetician or beautician with a process that involves your own dang